Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. In a bizarre turn of events, the Nevada State Athletic Commission has barred Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury from doing a final face-off after they weigh in for their fight, which is going to be this Saturday in Las Vegas. So this has come from left field to some extent, but it has been put down from the commission to the antics of Wilder and Fury from the final press conference, where there was a bit of argy-bargy, some shoving, a little bit of tension there. It started with Wilder pushing Fury and then Fury responding in kind, but the commission not liking it. So I'll get to the comments of Bob Bennett, and then I want to get onto some thoughts, because I think this is madness. And then also we have the purses are now known for Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury and the undercard. So apparently 25 million a pop, and there could be some upside. But starting with this issue of the face-off being barred by the Nevada State Athletic Commission, its executive director Bob Bennett told ESPN, and see here on screen, I've got it on screen, the reason the decision was made is because the press conference spoke for itself. The actions of the two fighters pushing each other, which was not staged, is not indicative of the image of our sport as a major league sport. Thus, having a face-off is not in the best interest in the health and safety of fighters and the public and the event. And quite frankly, that image where you have two professional athletes pushing each other where somebody could get hurt is not keeping with the image of a major league sport, and we're a major league sport. He goes on to say that he conferred with the commission chairman, Anthony Marnell III, and other people involved, Tom Brown of TGB Promotions, Bob Arum, etc. I'm not going to put the public or the fighters or the event in harm's way, because everybody is looking forward to a spectacular event. This decision is in the best interest of the fighters, the fans, and the event. So Bob Arum, the top-ranked promoter, he says, if this fight depends on a face-off to sell it, we've not done our job. They'll take pictures, just no face-off. The commission realizes, because ESPN and Fox, that boxing is back as a major sport, and we're not going to F it up by having these guys push each other around at a weigh-in. It doesn't happen in the NFL or Major League Baseball or the NBA, where you have athletes pushing and shoving before their contest. Boxing is now a major sport, and we will conduct ourselves like one. Top rank President Todd DeBoeuf says, in my 25 years of boxing, I've never heard of an administrative body stepping in and prohibiting a face-off. It's the pinnacle moment before the fight. I'm just shocked. That's the money shot, and not having it is frustrating. So you can sort of see there with the statements from Arum and also his offsider Todd DeBoeuf, who is the president of Top Rank. They're not quite on the same page there. Obviously, Todd DeBoeuf thinks that this is quite an important thing, having the face-off. And I agree with him more than Bob Arum on this one, because it is the pinnacle of the promotion. It's the final moment before the fight. You know, you have the weigh and they get on the scales, and then they face off, and the face-off is the last thing we see of them before they do their ring walk. So it is one of these things for a boxing promotion where face-offs are actually quite important. I don't think it can be understated. And the press conferences, say the first ones, the final one the other day, and then you have the weigh-in, and that you have different opportunities for face-offs. Those events are geared towards face-offs being a big part of them. And given some of the spice at the final press conference the other day, where there was the argy-bargy, I actually think that would have been quite interesting, and we would have been looking at this final face-off, the intensity, seeing who was potentially getting a mental edge over the other, and these are the things that we look for, read into. So the final face-off, is an important element of, a boxing build-up. Bob Arum, he says, if this fight depends on the face-off to sell it, we've not done our job. It may not necessarily completely depend on it, but it is kind of the cherry on top too. Yeah, and then further up, I just go back to some of Bob Bennett's comments there, because I wanted to sort of wade into them. He's talking about these guys, that it's not indicative of the image of our sport as a major league sport. Face-off not in the best interest, yada, yada, yada. Two professional athletes pushing each other. I mean, come on. These guys punch each other in the head for a living. A face-off, and especially where there's a bit of niggle involved with some argy-bargy pushing and shoving and some intensity, and so it adds some spice to the event. That's been happening in boxing forever and a day. And in this build-up, it's been noted by a lot of people that until that final press conference, it'd been, unexpectedly respectful from both the fighters, that they hadn't really sort of got stuck into each other as many people thought they might, given the magnitude of the rematch. So I kind of think that this is just a bit bizarre and uncalled for. And really, that incident from the other day, it wasn't even a really big deal. There was a push from Wilder, then a push from Fury, but at no stage did it ever really look like it was going to devolve into some all-out brawl. It might have started off a bit spicy, that press conference, but by the end, it was relatively tame, and it sort of settled down after the first 5 or 10 minutes, and it got calmer as the event went on. So I think you have to take that into consideration, because that's also context which you can use to make a decision. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, the Nevada State Athletic Commission, I think that's kind of stepping over the mark here. And someone else who thinks it's stepping over the mark is Conor McGregor. So see here on screen, guys, please relax, Vegas Commission. You're one of the best commissions, bar none, for impeccably handling events of unpredictability. Place men between the men. Security on stage. Let them get one last look at each other. The last look before it's on. And actually, on Dan Rafael's original tweet, a Twitter account Against the Ropes, he said that just get the steel fence out. So he's got that picture from the David Haye and Derek Chisora fight. And obviously, that was quite a famous sort of image. They could have done the same, but I'm not even sure that it really would have needed it. Just have a little bit of extra security there right on hand to prevent anything. And given these guys, these boxers are going to be paid $25 million each, and we'll come to the purses in a moment. Do you really think that they're going to be messing that up, just after they weigh in, one day before the fight? These guys are prize fighters. They're there for the money. They're not going to let their fists fly. These two are just not those sort of guys. Sure, they might rev things up for the promotion and to make it look like there's probably more heat in things when there really is, but they're not going to go out there and blast each other out ahead of the fight. They're here to get paid. That's a fact. So I kind of think the NSAC is really acting like a big sack itself. I just think it's bizarre. So what do you make of this? I think it's kind of a poor look, but I guess maybe you could look at it from the other side, that the unexpected nature of this barring of the final face-off, it may end up creating more publicity than the face-off otherwise would of its own. So maybe this is going to be a last-minute promotional kick and push that's going to help the fight a bit more, and unexpectedly, this is probably what the commission's not hoping for. But getting back to that whole sort of thing, boxing is boxing. It's a bit different to other professional sports. These guys punch each other in the head for a living. There is going to be some unpredictability, and guys that do this for a living are a different breed of athlete compared to, guys that are playing basketball, which is not really a contact sport. NFL, sure, that's a contact sport, but there's plenty of protection. But these guys are actually trying to sell the fight, and their antics and what they do in the build-up actually directly correlates to their ultimate payday. So you could argue maybe the Nevada State Athletic Commission is potentially hobbling their earning power here. That's just another thing to throw in there. But like I say, on the reverse of it, perhaps this could be something that, even though the commission is looking to shut this face-off down, it creates more attention, which gets more eyeballs on the fight. Maybe people think there is more heat in this than there really is. But of the actual money that these guys are going to be taking home, so per the Nevada State Athletic Commission, which is in the thick of it, of course, the official contract purses, this is of Dan Rafael's short article. So Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, $5 million each, but he says that both are guaranteed more than $25 million apiece, plus percentages of any pay-per-view profits. And then it has Charles Martin, $250K, Gerald Washington, $275. That's the co-main event. But when you look at it, these two guys, Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, where it says they're going to be getting a guaranteed $25 million, that's $50 million combined, and that seems to be the guarantee, the minimum. This really is a change of fortunes from just a couple of years ago. Tyson Fury wasn't even in the sport. Deontay Wilder was grinding away for $1.5 million paydays. His highest was $2.1 million for Luis Ortiz back in March 2018. 2 years later, he's getting $25 million and change. So, I mean, you'd have to ask yourself, on the basis of the money that they're getting, is the pay-per-view going to actually pay for the event? Because remember, you've got these broadcasters taking a cut. The event actually costs money to put on. There's all sorts of costs that need to be factored into this. But then again, there's all sorts of revenue streams. And if it does say 500,000 buys, that's $40 million at $80 a pop for the pay-per-view. So, it's hard to know what will happen. There's the UK pay-per-view too. There's expected to be at least a few 100,000 buys. And then you have the international pay-per-view too. So that's another revenue stream. There'll be merchandise. There'll be all sorts of other bits and pieces going into the pot. But yeah, that's a lot of money. You've got to sort of work all that back. They're probably hoping for a big number on the pay-per-view front. But yeah, what do you make of this? The purse is pretty big. But also the Nevada State Athletic Commission banning the face-off. I find that weird and bizarre. Drop a comment, loud and often, hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.